supervisor Simonson. Madam Chairman?
Public comments. Lloyd, do you have anything to say? Gene? Thank you. Bob, anything? No. Okay. The group over there can be quiet. Okay, John, you're on.
I want to say that I am disappointed that nobody from Weymouth is here in attendance tonight because I put in a lot of work for what's on our table. So I even have made copies for people in attendance that have spread to take home with them so they could kind of understand.
Well, hopefully they're watching at home.
So, all right, well,
Okay.
get through this pretty quick. I'm going to start off with some what I'll consider emergency. Over the past 2 Monday closures, which are our final 2 Monday closures for season until next May, Dave and I, Dave the equipment manager, we went out and did some bridge repair work on some of the planks that were popping up. And it's pretty apparent to us that we need to do something pretty soon in the near term as far as what's happening. Those planks that are on there now, they're an overlay of what was originally built. So they weren't originally put on the bridge. We redid them back in 2017, all the bridges on it, remember, and some bridge repair.
Just
Yes.
topper.
Yeah, took those and took them off, put new ones on, and now so it's been 6 years. But what's happening is the sand, just as before, it gets trapped in there and it stays wet and it consumes the wood.
Okay.
And then, you know what I mean, it just eats it because it's constantly wet and it slowly rots the wood. And as we were fixing these boards that were popping up, we're having to go back to here, and then we realized, man, underneath this isn't good. But what we did on 4 is working out wonderful. Like with the metal strips,
It is.
it's working out amazing.
Okay.
It's quiet, they're staying down, and it's just on the original decking of the original bridge, which has much bigger gaps in it, so the dirt and the sand doesn't build up, it falls down and it gets in, and it's easier to clean. So during that time, I went and measured the bridges, what it would take, and to get the amount of steel to do the rest of the bridges would be about, it's $14,181.
Do the rest, what do you mean do the rest?
So what we have to do is take off all the decking that's on there now, the current decking, clean up the bridges, and then put those metal planks about, like we do with the width of the car path, down the whole strip of each bridge.
So you're saying the actual structures are okay, we just need to replace the top?
Pretty much, get the stuff that's on there now, because it's actually hindering what's underneath it, which is more important, because that's the structure of the bridge, that's the,
Okay.
the structural component of the bridge.
Will that get us to
Yeah, that'll probably.
basically next 5 years?
Yes.
Because we're talking
At
4 or
least
5 years.
it's gonna be the only thing that would.
Well, if we keep
Because
the
whenever
metal-
we do renovation, we are going to redo the bridges,
Yes.
correct?
But if we keep the metal down, and we put new and then keep the metal down, I mean, the metal wasn't there before, right?
No, never.
So it
Only at the end.
deteriorated because it was wood and it was getting constant traffic.
And the sand, as the sand and
Right.
dust gets in, trapped in between,
But
it
the
gets
metal
closer.
will prolong that for a lot longer time than if we didn't have metal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so,
And-
I mean, if we replace the top, why would we need to replace the entire structure?
right.
Well, eventually, because,
Because we're going to be closed down and it might be the
and
time
they are
to do
at
it.
that age, they're almost 30 years, so.
Right.
And the cost, I don't know if we remember, was about $250,000 about 7, 8 years ago, so.
Yeah.
Let's say it was $300,000, we're looking at like 5% of the total cost of redoing it just to repair it for longer than 5 years, I think is,
I'm all for that.
Now, you did the 4th hole?
we did number 4, the bridge on 4, correct?
Okay. So so we have,
That bridge alone was 1,600 in steel.
But you just
Okay.
put the steel on, right? You're talking about taking the steel up, taking all the boards off, putting new boards down, put the steel back on.
no,
So there's no steel there currently. 4 is fine, 4 is good. 4 is
so
in
you're
good
talking
shape.
about taking the wood you put down
Back in
off?
17, the top decking, right, that wasn't original to the bridges, even in the original construction.
Right.
Take it off, clean the bridges off, put the metal strips
Strip
down
down.
with the car path on all the other bridges to keep them from having the sand be able to pack down in there and rot on what's going to be exposed now.
Okay, so we have,
And if you ever get a chance, when you drive over that bridge on 4, go slow, and you'll see the wood that's underneath, how like it's not smooth.
Yeah.
You'll see some of the boards we had to replace. That's a perfect example of what's happening.
okay, so we did 4, so we have the bridge.
We have 3 on 5, 1 on 8, 1 on 9,
We have 3,
3 on 5, yes.
okay.
Is 14K total repair or each?
Total.
Okay.
That's the cost for that's the total amount of cost
All
for the
bridges.
steel to replace it.
Okay,
There's
so
no
you're saying-
labor cost in that, that's just the material.
Okay, so you're saying 3 pieces of steel on 5?
There's 3 bridges.
There's 3 bridges.
So you're gonna need 2 pieces of steel because it's gonna be the width of the cart, right? So what we did is measure the length of the total length.
Okay, so, but I'm saying that there's a bridge on 5.
3 bridges, I believe, on 5.
There are?
Yeah, right?
Small one.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3
Middle,
bridges, yeah.
and the
Okay.
long one that
Yeah,
goes
we got
over the
5,
lake.
1 on 8, 1 on 9, and 1 on 13. And then obviously 2.
So you're saying
Two,
that's
that's
Two,
just,
yes.
just to put steel down, not to replace the current
Yeah,
board?
okay.
No, because we're not replacing, remember those current boards, that we wanted to get those off.
So you
So, yeah, the original bridge, you have like 4x8s going like
Yep,
this,
yep.
and then we over like 2x6s going like this.
Yes.
Take the 2x6s off,
And
clean
add
up,
the steel.
and then add the steel.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Preserving the 4x8s
So we'll
under.
be putting new wood and new steel on the top.
No,
No,
just new
steel.
just new
Taking
steel.
old wood, rotting wood, that's rotting the wood underneath off, to preserve the underneath wood, because it's the main structural component.
Now, if there's any wood underneath that needs to be replaced, we can
Absolutely.
replace it.
So we
Okay.
have basically a 2-ply wood, is what you're saying.
Yes.
So you're gonna take 1 ply off.
Yes,
In a sense, yes, exactly.
Okay, I got it.
Yes.
okay, even I know.
Who's on first?
That undersurface was the original
Okay.
surface.
Right,
And in
okay,
2017, we added structure
Extra layer.
there.
Gotcha.
Well,
okay.
even before that, I think,
Yeah.
during 2010, when the bridges were
Yeah.
redone.
It's been done, yeah.
Yeah, a couple times.
John, the one that has been done is 14, is that correct?
4, number 4.
4.
Okay.
The bridge on 14.
How will that affect the play and how long?
We're gonna have to do it in, later parts of the day. Earlier parts, later parts of the day, and kind of game plan it. It's not gonna be easy, you know? It's
Okay.
not even this time of year. We probably got another month, I would say, maybe, Jeff, really? Is that October?
How long would it take you to get the steel?
Got about 10 days,
Yeah, I mean, it would, probably a week or so.
15.
It would
Okay.
have to be something that would probably have to be like pieced out, right? When we have the time and just little by little, go ahead and,
Okay.
John, do you have any idea how much of the wood is rotted? Have you sampled any, taken any?
I did take it, here, I can give you one picture. I'm sorry, I had so much print on it, guys. I'm so
this is
sorry.
great.
It
That's
is all-
okay.
It's ridiculous.
John, if you, I'm trying to think, if you,
So here's kind of what I want to show you here. So this is what we would be taking out. To see how the wood and you got even
Yep.
weeds growing in between, those roots will get in the wood and start growing, consuming it. That underneath, terrible, right? That's what you want to preserve. So we need to get that up, repair some of that.
Yeah, that's,
so John, if you did, like, let's say,
That's the only picture I got.
in the morning, you could do 13 to 14.
see, that's the original layer and the new layer.
The original
Right.
layer right there.
Yeah,
Original layer, new layer.
You send that down to Chris?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what we could do is, and Lloyd, help me out here. In October, we could start on 10, and he could do the front, and then give him till like 9:30, till the first group gets through there.
Yeah.
And
All
then,
these bridges are on the front 9, correct?
Well,
No.
we're going to do them all. I measured out every bridge.
Yeah, 13 to 14.
So if we did 13 first,
Yeah.
remember now, like you said, flip the time.
and then flip it and do back nine,
Right.
back nine starts. I'll start off 10, and then let him do the front, and we could probably make it work.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, till.
You got 1 on the back 9 to do, and then 7 on the front 9 to do.
Yes.
yes.
13's
So-
not horrible.
No, but it turns. It's the only bridge we got that's got like a curve in it, you know?
So let's
So it'd be a little
do,
bit different cut.
I guess we have to make a,
He'd have over 2 hours
Yeah,
at the first bridge.
Yeah.
ahead time. So that'd be,
Maybe one day just strip it, you know?
How many more Monday closures do we have?
none.
We're done.
So we started.
I know, timing is terrible. I'm sorry, but we just found out during these last 2 closures, you know, fixing these repairs, these boards popping up, it's like, oh,
If
good.
4 is done, you got more than 2 hours.
Yeah, you're right. 4's done. 4's the first one on the back, on the front.
Yeah,
What
so
if
you
we
get-
did
you
another
get
Monday
5.
closure?
What's that?
What if we did another Monday closure?
You knock it out.
I don't want to do that to Jeff.
No, I mean, just, you know, hopefully it would be sooner
Well, when
than
could you
later.
have the metal by?
I don't know.
I already
On the end.
got residents called today booking for the 9th,
yeah.
so I'm
People are-
already booking.
Yeah.
So I think if you can do 13, and then Jeff, if you can do starting on the
John just tells me and I'll tell Lloyd.
Work
and
your
we'll
way
go-
backwards.
We'll go
Yeah.
off 10.
Yeah,
And then you get a pretty good sense, because you only got to get to, well, I guess you got a bunch on 5, and then you got 1 on 2.
So there's always that, getting it up, the wood up and right, then getting to a point where people can drive over for the next day and then we can work.
Yeah.
But then it's, well, when you get it up, what do we got to prepare?
Right.
You know,
That's
there's always
the
gonna
scary
be-
part.
It is the scary part, but it has to be.
right. Okay,
You know, I'm afraid you might be.
I mean, just, we
Pandora's
gotta get that
box.
decking off of there, it's just with that sand, because even when we clean it, the grooves, you can't get it all out, they're still up underneath the wood.
I make a motion that we move ahead with this project for 17,000. That gives you some buffer in there to buy some wood.
Yeah, so just buy some screws and stuff.
And you try and get it done in the month of
Blade.
October, working with Jeff, you know.
I second that. Any comments?
I would just say, let's try to get it done sooner than later.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you're gonna-
absolutely, and then, you know what, I might bring some day laborers, you said want to
More,
bring some day laborers.
obviously more
help
plays
yourself.
gonna start
Yeah.
coming in. We got the
start first thing in the
Pinewoods
morning,
tournament on the
you know.
21st. That's always a
Right.
big,
Yeah, this weekend I looked at
Big
the
one.
last bridge on 5 where it butts up against Stony Brook Golf Drive. That's bad.
Yeah.
And I imagine the others are similar.
So some are, the ones that don't have, like the coquina pad transitioning to them, they're a lot better, but the ones that do are obviously good.
More sand, basically.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Phil, do you have any comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, John, start that, now if you could.
Good, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm gonna move this along as quick as I can. Staffing, we're gonna be fully staffed here shortly on the common grounds. I got 2 people starting in 2 weeks, so that's a plus. We're still short an assistant mechanic and a full-time laborer on the golf course. We have a part-time laborer in the spot, but it's not working out. We need that body in the afternoon. We're too small of a staff to not have it. And we thought it would work out. At the time, it's what we needed, but now we just, and they're on notice, the person, the part-timer, they're on notice, hey, when we can find somebody full-time, we're gonna make that
Do you
transition.
mind if I interrupt him for a minute on that?
No, that's okay.
I think he needs to hire 2 or 3 more laborers to reach the value of the golf course that you want for 195 around, you know?
Totally agree.
We need to make sure everything's clean, everything's right, everything's good, and John can always use more people. I know it's not quite in the budget that was already passed, but if we could make a small amendment to the budget, and John could add 2 or 3 more people, I think that would certainly help us out to reach the level that we want to be at.
I think it was probably about 40,000 per person, payroll taxes and fees included.
So they were talking another $80,000.
120.
120,
If he's
we had
not
3.
three.
Okay.
That's annual though, right?
It's annual, that's payroll taxes and fees, salaries. I'm figuring
I mean, do we-
$17, $18 an hour plus another 26% payroll taxes and fees, related pay insurance.
I'm in favor of that because I don't want to get to the point where you
I would
have,
love to have, I mean, I would love.
you have X
it's-
amount of
it's-
employees, and if you lose 2, then you're
Yeah.
way behind.
I got 2 on vacation right now on the golf course.
Turnover is up.
Everything,
So, yeah.
It's hard to get,
I think you should do that to get ahead for season. You don't want to be short.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
somebody's not gonna make it out of the 3, somebody's not gonna make it, right? It's
Right.
just a numbers game. Somebody's gonna last 30 days, 60 days, and then it's just the way you go. It really is.
So do you need 2 or 3?
I would go with 3 and hope, if he gets 2, 2
I want
will
3.
stay.
Team.
Okay. I make a motion to amend the budget to increase John's payroll to accommodate 2 to 3 laborers,
Is there
in a
anything
total of
else
120,000.
we need to add to that, Chuck?
I just need the actual amount so we can plug it in there and we'll get it on the next agenda.
Roughly 120.
Okay.
A second.
Discussion.
Well, wait,
Discussion.
then should we just table it till the next?
No, I think you made the motion based on general numbers. I just
Okay,
will need
okay.
the real number to up the payroll.
Yeah.
So our rates are kicking up versus where they were before, starting October, right? So we're
20%.
We're going up to that 20, okay, so we should have plenty of revenue to cover.
Yeah.
And if we're going to get that, charge the revenue, we certainly need to have the quality of golf course.
Absolutely, and I think
To
that's where
represent.
Jeff is coming from. Okay. Chris? Any discussion? All in favor?
If we can make it, we can
I
make it.
think we just need to be clear. Are we going for 2 or for 3? The motion said 2 or 3.
I
Yeah,
think,
so
let's
3.
go with 3.
Yeah.
Okay, John.
So I'm doing that now.
All those in
Yeah.
favor?
So you'll have the budget for 3, but maybe possibly work with 2?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you
hard-
go,
it's
hold
hard-
on, I
it's
mean,
hard to
after I
forget.
did the numbers, I mean, I would say for 3 people, it's out the door is $133,660. That's $17 an hour, that's $17 an hour, 2,080 hours of work here, then times it by 26% for payroll.
Chances are we're going to come in below that. One of those guys is going
Right.
to move on by the end of the season, and we won't need to add another employee, so.
Right,
We probably always have a vacant spot.
probably, we usually,
Get money meetings, shoot a little line.
yeah. Okay,
Perfect.
so all those in favor of hiring the 3?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. John? Leslie's going to
Thank
be
you
busy.
very much, everybody, this is a good day for me.
Got a pay raise last month, you got 3 more.
Wow, the 3 employees right now, something's wrong.
So I want that guy right there.
Thank you, Jeff, thank you, everybody.
Are you going to share with him?
It's a tag team.
Man, let's see what else I can go for, right? All right.
Behave yourself.
Maybe we should have heard the whole list before we voted on it.
Yeah.
So there's some dead pines in between 11 and 12, I don't know if you noticed them since we cleared it out. They have some Japanese boll weevil in them, pine borer, Japanese pine borer. I got a number on it for about 7,000, and that's just to cut them down, really not take out the stumps, not grind them.
Do we need to take out the stumps?
For that amount of money, I don't know, right now is the time to do that. I think we wait, and just let them kind of fall and do the thing, you know?
One trying to do another.
We don't have to run chainsaws.
Yeah, let them fall during the storm, you know, they're somewhere, yes and no, I mean, some of them
Why
are,
do we have to outside source cutting down a tree and pay 7
well,
grand?
there's 27 of them, I'm sorry, 27.
27.
Oh, not now.
I'm sorry, I said 7. No, you're right, it's right, it's 27, I'm sorry, that's,
I'm assuming that includes
some
hauling
are
them
decent
out.
size, you know what I mean?
But you're talking
7,000
about,
includes hauling them out, they're
Yes.
gone.
and that's a company to come in and do that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why do we have to hire a company? to-
That's a lot of trees, man, that's a lot of time. Now I got 3 people, we don't. Right?
that's my point.
You see what I'm saying,
This is
now
my
that I got 3 people?
Yeah.
But you're right, so we could scratch that.
I'd rather put the money into a wood chipper.
I'd rather put that 7,000 in one of my new employees.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys, you got fired already.
The last verification went great. The flowers are being pulled next week, next Monday, and we're gonna get new flowers the week after, the following week.
What color are we getting?
White and red for Christmas holiday
Okay.
season,
Are
right?
you doing around the sign?
We're gonna do around, you asked me to do around the HOA sign at the four-way stop. Yes, we're gonna add. some
Because
flowers.
it
That's
looks-
not much, it's only like 60 flowers, I think.
Yeah, because it looks nice, and that just looks... Now, can I ask a question when I was driving by there? The fire bush there,
What do you, want to do something
wait,
different?
why don't, I know you trimmed it back, but it looks like it's dead. Or is
No,
it-
it's because when you trim it back that low, there's nothing there, it'll flush
Okay,
out.
it
Fire
will.
bush, you can stump, you nub it, that's, when you trim it that low, there's nothing underneath.
Okay.
You don't, that's what they trim.
All right, I just wanted to make sure.
But if you want to do something.
Oh, no, I like the fire bush, but I just wanted to make sure that it was okay. All right.
What color flowers are we going with?
Red and white for the holiday season.
holidays.
Like we typically do, red, white, and patience.
And then, are we sending anything out to the residents? And you know you're gonna see it on social media, that why are we pulling out perfectly good flowers?
I'm not on social media.
Yeah, I understand.
When are you doing that?
We're doing the pull out on Monday, and then we're gonna prep the beds that week, and then the following, it might be Wednesday the following week, we're getting the flowers. I think it's Monday.
These flowers are not designed to stay there year in and year out.
No, we have 3, for the Common Grounds, we have 3 different.
It's part of it, but
We'll do it again in January, along with another pine shaw in January, and then we'll do it in May.
I just have a problem putting Christmas stuff out before Halloween.
So I feel, so.
Then
this
don't
isn't
go
the-
into
this isn't
Lowe's
the
or
equivalent
Costco.
Of like, you pull flowers out in October and replace them as part of the pine straw mulching. So we got that going. Proposed palms, hardwoods. November 13th is when we're getting the palms and hardwoods throughout the community, main drag. Hardwoods for the fire department, 13.5-foot tree requirement, and then the palms just along the boulevard cul-de-sacs.
Who's doing that?
That is Bushwood, does that.
Are they the ones that did the between 11 and 12?
One time, they didn't, but not last time, no.
Okay, all right.
The continuing education, what did we say about that? Because now, I have a new employee who I'm hiring, and he too goes through the same Lake City program, and he was wondering.
So, yeah, I did not, I don't have like a set document, but I mean, I started working on it, and I don't know if we want to talk about this now, I guess we can.
Yeah.
I think the biggest things I was running into, and what would be for us to decide is, so do you want to do 3-year, 4-year, 2-year? With the turnover, I started thinking, man, we don't want to go out 4 or 5 years. I mean, I wouldn't think. But then I started also thinking, what kind of dollar amounts are we looking at here?
Minimum.
So, yeah, that's what I was like.
1,900 for one and 1,500 for another, for the whole year.
So I would think, just if that, and I don't know, Jeff, if there's some stuff that potentially could come up with your group too. So sorry, I don't have anything down, but I started kind of going through my head and just writing some notes down and different things that I've experienced, because I've had it myself, where I've had a company that I worked for pay for me, and I had to work for 3 years, and I was good. But then I was like, man, how much money? I knew yours was fair, or at least what we were talking about, but are there other tiers where would we tier it almost if there's some larger dollar ones out there, but if it's all pretty low?
Put a cap on it. Well, there is like a Penn State online program, if you're an out-of-state tuition, it could be fairly expensive. But if you have a cap, say, hey, up to this amount,
We've always put
maximum.
3,000 in the budget for education. And if I had like a non-Class A PGA who was becoming a PGA, we would take that money and pay for his schooling, like we're paying for Tyler's. I think Tyler's was like 1,800 this year. So, I've always kind of used it that way, and I've never really tied it to, well, you got to stay.
You got to stick around.
Stick around, because it's always been, from other industries, it's always been our goal to train an employee, get him to a Class A PGA member, and move him to a different club or move him along, because the pay difference between an assistant and a head professional or director of golf or a head superintendent is so substantial. It's hard to say, hey, stay here 3 more years when you can go out there and make $40,000, $50,000 more.
Right. So then if we are going to go with a policy, then that kind of shoots the policy down, because you've got a separate situation here, but then we can't have unless we designate certain things for certain. I mean, you can't have an overall policy, but then you don't follow it for this group of people, but this group of people fall under. At least that's my opinion.
So I like the grading scale. I like, because it gives them an incentive too. Like, we're not just going to pay for it if you're not putting in any effort. If you're coming out with C's, you're going to get paid for a C. If you come with A's, you're going to get paid for an A, whether that be 80, like I said, an 80% for an A, 60% for a B, 40% or 50% for a C. And then there's a cap of 5,000. We won't go past 5, no matter what your tuition is for the year, we'll cap it at, or whatever the number may be. I'm just throwing a hypothetical number out there. Cap it at X, Y, Z, and you get paid, if you get an A, you pay 80% of that tuition for the year. And
I'm inclined to let you guys make the decision.
that's how mine was when I worked for the company. I thought it was pretty, but there was no like, oh, you have to stay here for 6 months after, because you're right. I mean, and especially in the now world, we got, an opportunity to come by like that.
But that's also part of the deal.
Yeah, we don't know what.
That's why it doesn't matter if it was now or 20 years ago when I was doing it.
Yeah.
That was part of the deal. If I left, I knew I had to pay. So, I mean, it's not different today than it was then. I mean, that's the only reason we're talking about this is, are we willing? And if we're just willing to let it go, then let's just let it go and not create a policy. But if we're going to create a policy, we have to decide, are we going to apply that policy to everybody? Or if Jeff just gave an example of, well, once these guys get their certification, they don't want to stick around for 3 years. Well, that's fine, but we paid for it. So if you don't, then you need to pay us back. I mean, that's for us to decide.
Tony, what's customary on things like this? Are you familiar with any of this?
Yeah, I've seen none of my districts do that. I've seen employee retention, employee accreditation programs where there is a payback if you leave in a certain period of time after the company or organization is paid for your advancement in certain circumstances.
And so now, I mean, now we're talking, and more numbers are being thrown out. Is it worth it? is it incentive for them that they know, well, you know what, this company, or we paid for that, will they stick around? If they don't, was it worth it to have them get the education, and even if they worked for us for only a year, did we get our money back on our investment? I'm just throwing out ideas, guys. I don't really.
I'm with you. I don't want them to hit and run for sure, the workforce for a year and then get educated and move on to a different job.
But-
So now, there should be a bonus for them getting that education and getting a higher compensation. That should be part of the discussion. That would help retain them.
Potentially, but it's not going to be as much as what Jeff's talking about,
Right.
where you're talking 40. But then again, if they're getting a $40,000 bonus, or by moving on to this new position, then paying $2,000 back or whatever they owe, what would one owe after that? You're saying it's like $3,000?
Yeah, I mean, 3 classes, $1,800 a year, so 36, $5,400 total if they went completely through the PGA program here at our facility. The only one who's done that completely through was Josh Ross. When I first came here, Josh was totally unaccredited, and
Right.
within 2 years, he was a Class A member. He stayed for another 3 years afterwards. We got full use of it,
Right.
and he moved on and he's a GM now in North Carolina.
People work for good bosses. They don't work for a board of directors. I think by giving these guys the leeway,
Right.
we empower you guys to create a scheme that incentivizes them.
Do you want me to
And
work-
whether it's
do you want me to work with them
CDD or
to come up with a final?
accreditation or something that's going
Yeah.
to help them do their job, every situation is going to be different.
Well, like you said, we have like 3,000 already budgeted for it. Well, maybe we up that to 5,000 for each department or something.
John, what is Tyler's current,
Assistant.
no, his tuition?
Tyler, okay, so Tyler's is gonna be, I think he said his was like 1,500 for the year,
Okay,
for that program. It's like 3 or 4 classes, and the new kid, his name is Jay, who goes to the same, he's taking the same courses, but like a slightly different name program, maybe like landscape architecture or something. He said his was like 1,800, but I think he's taking 1 more class. But it's, yeah.
okay. What I'd like Chris to work with Jeff and John, but I would like to, in my opinion, because I do get my master's and all my other licenses paid for, based on on a grade, we're not going to pay $1,500 and they fail all 3 classes. I mean, that's not, base it on a grade. I would say if they complete the class, if you complete it and you leave within a year, then you owe us the money. I mean, that to me would be a
In
reasonable
general,
thing.
I like that idea.
Because, so you finish your class October 1st. Well, you're kind of committed to stay with us until October 1st the following year, so we benefit from what you've learned, or you pay us for it. I mean, I think that's a reasonable thing. I think asking somebody to stay 2, 3, 4 years
No, 1 year.
is a lot. And I do think the 1 year, I mean, based on, if you were talking $10,000, $15,000,
Right.
that's huge. My math.
So here's the thing, I think,
Okay.
I think for me personally,
Right.
this is how I think, for $1,500, I'm not gonna stay committed to you for a year.
Well,
That's a nominal amount of money for me, I can make that up in a couple of weeks and a couple
Okay.
of months of
They
pay.
don't have to accept it.
they don't,
But you know what I mean, so but
It's
a year,
paid
you see what I'm
after.
saying, that's a long time for a
Yeah.
small amount of money.
okay.
The other thing I had as a down as well is, how do we collect it?
What happens when it goes wrong?
Yeah.
Are we going to hire a lawyer? This is less than 0.1% of our,
Exactly,
Yeah.
Of our budget.
exactly. So that was another thing. I was
Yeah.
like, well, at the end of the, again, I wasn't 100% sure what numbers we were dealing with for sure. I knew you were talking about $1,000, but that's, again, that's another thing I had down, is like, all right, at the end of the day, how do we even collect it?
Let's look
Okay,
at
so-
it from the upside of what we're gonna get from it.
Right,
Tyler started out as a laborer, and he's gonna become now a knowledge assistant. My Tyler Renault, started out as a guy who worked the counter, and now he's become first assistant, by need, but now by knowledge. So I think we're already gaining from what but we're investing in these young people.
And
Okay,
I've
so
already
Jeff,
told
you-
Tyler, he needs to leave. I was like, you need to leave within a year or two, you need to be gone. You need to
Okay.
move on to another facility, learn a different, work for a private course in different conditions, different cultivars. You know, because in this business, the more you know, the more different skill sets you have and different budgets and stuff, it, makes a big difference.
So
Makes
Jeff,
sense why you need 2 or 3 more people. You're running people off.
Jeff, you have 3,000 in your budget for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just give each the discretion to,
I would up it, I mean, if we paid the 15 and the 18, that's 3,300. So I would say, let's make 4,000 for each department and take it from there. I mean, I think that would be a reasonable thing to do, more budget changes.
Madam Chair, what I would suggest is that the board, that Jeff and John may just come back with the detailed
Yes.
policy so the board sees it. And that way, they ratify.
Everything's
approve actually
clear.
the actual text of it as far as any conditions.
Right, and then
Does it
just,
apply to all employees? You have to wait till the probation period's over? I mean, those kind of items.
Yeah.
okay, so if you three could work on it for the next meeting, but, I'm almost thinking 4,000 for each department and, discretionary for you guys to, see who gets it and who doesn't.
So the money's there. If you use it, great. If you don't, you
We'll
don't.
carry it over.
And if it's something more expensive,
Then it would have to come back to us.
come to us, or they're on their own.
Right. So if it ends up that one of the classes, and it's only one employee, let's say Tyler's now 6,000, and we have the 4, then he has to kick in the 2. I'm just saying that if that would be it. So if you three could work on it, I think
it's
that would be
annual
good.
anyway. He won't spend more than 1,800 a year on PTA, right?
Shouldn't.
Yeah.
We had some vandalism recently out here on the ball field out in front of your house. I don't know if you've seen that, on that shrub that directly out in front, except down a little bit
tennis
farther. No, right in front of the ball field.
I didn't see it.
They took out about 52 shrubs. Well, they didn't take out 52, but the amount we're gonna have to replace is 52 because.
Really?
Yes, they.
Was it a car that went through?
The truck, it had to be a truck, because there's some big stumps that they ran over and like how they tear the undercarriage of the car off, like the trim and all that. So I did a count today and I called just to get an estimate, we'd have to do 7 gallon by Burnhams, 52 of them, that's 1,500. So I forgot, did the HOA pay for that? Because that's not I don't know, that's vandalism. I always know like on the ball field, like if there's vandalism,
That's common.
we'd come.
Where's that?
The HOA owns the ball field.
Okay.
We manage it, we take care of it, we maintain it, we get paid.
They own it.
The golf course gets a supplement every month to do that, to, mow and.
UHY?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the treasurer. That's John Detterbeck.
So I don't, I'm just saying, because that's a lot of money, time and effort to do that, but I
So-
just want to make sure, do I send the bill to Tammy and say, hey, this is for, or do I talk to Tammy first and say, hey, what do you want to do about this?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think there needs to be some discussion.
Yes.
Right.
Much easier than just saying it's ours or yours.
Right.
Let's talk about it.
Sure.
Figure out where it's going to go.
Yeah.
That seems like an appropriate way to go at it. It's unfortunate that we can't track those people down.
No doubt.
We're getting a lot of vandalism on the bathroom on 5 too. I see a lot of contractors popping their heads in there, but the vandalism is from, they're taking paper and throwing it, sticking it, letting it dry,
A lot of kids hang out.
How are they
there
getting in
fishing and
there?
stuff.
I guess they know the code.
They're not staying locked. So,
Pardon?
they're not staying locked.
Oh, they're not?
At night, yeah, they're not, so,
maybe we
unless they got the code, you know what I mean? Someone.
let's change the code.
Why wouldn't they lock?
And
I
then-
thought they locked automatically
They
when the
used
door
to, yeah,
closed.
I mean,
Okay.
Well, do we need
How
to
hard is it to
replace
change
the
the code
locks?
on the carts, Jeff?
Do we need to replace the locks?
John, just tell them
we
what
need to
to do.
replace, on 15, we need to replace the door jamb, because the automatic door closer was just laying on the ground one day, and we can't put it back because there's nothing to put it back, attach it to, because that was ripped out. So,
Once we get power out there, we can have some sort of
that's gonna.
camera.
Yeah, I'll let him talk about that, but that bathroom's gonna be the one we don't have power to.
Well, if it's not locking, we need to get new locks.
Get new locks and change the code, and I think we need to change the code
Put new locks on.
more frequently.
I don't even know that they're locked full stop or there's locks on them.
It's like a deadbolt.
Just some bolts.
Kind
Last
of
year during the golf season, they weren't locked at all. When you were during the day, I don't know.
They don't work anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if they changed them at night, but they didn't work during the day. There was no point in hitting the code because the doors weren't locked.
It's a shame that we should ever even have to worry about it.
Oh, it is, but that's where we're at.
Unbelievable.
How long
Let's-
do those things last?
Uh,
Get those.
We've had them about 4 years now.
Well,
The sad part is, it's not the golfers,
No, it's not.
it's the residents. Like all
John,
residents.
see what it would cost to do the door jamb, because we have to do that, and to get 4 new locks.
They're in the process of
paint.
painting and
Painting.
redoing, so might as well.
Do it
while
all
we're doing
together.
Put new locks on them and do everything.
I would think as soon as we knew we didn't have locks, we'd
I don't
replace
think
them.
this, I don't think
There's
this.
a reason we had them.
What's that?
I would think, once we knew we didn't have locks, we should replace them.
Jeff,
That's
I
just
know,
part of doing business.
I know this is an additional thing for your starter. The starter doesn't stay until everybody's done.
Just the car guys.
Just the
Well,
park guys.
they stay and collect the flags, so they're close to being done.
Okay, can they just check make sure that once we get the locks changed, to just make sure that they're locked, the restrooms are locked? I mean, as they go from,
5 to 6 and 14
Oh,
to
yeah.
15.
yeah, they could
I mean,
just
if-
check.
They used to check them, but those locks haven't worked for many years.
Okay, so John, let's get,
Yeah, because they're automatic. I mean, you can't manually lock it if it's unlocked, so
okay, so,
it's just not working and you can't lock it. Correct.
Right.
No, you can still lock them manually, lock them back.
From the inside.
From the inside.
But not
You'd
from
be
the
locked
outside.
in.
We're talking- yeah.
They don't lock
Oh,
themselves.
from, with a key.
Right.
With a key. you
Okay.
can.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we got keys.
Yeah,
All right,
they used
so-
to go zzz, dum.
Yeah.
okay, so let's get new locks, and Lloyd, if the guys at the end of the night, when they're picking up the flags, which it's sad we have to do that again, too.
It's in their instructions.
It is, okay.
And
And if the lock doesn't work, to let us know.
Should we key
John
lock,
needs to know,
should we
so
just
then
key lock them
replace
every
the
night?
locks.
You
I'm
know?
sorry?
Should we just key lock them every night? Makes part of the round?
If the automatic lock's working, it
Right.
shouldn't have to be
Even
locked.
if it- I'm saying as part of a fail-safe, just as part of the round, go and just,
All we gotta do is check them, but the problem we had before is the batteries didn't last.